Hey there, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's the Ariana Grande episode, amongst other songs, and it's Billboard BREAKDOwn. I don't remember. So I've made the point multiple times this summer that the charts have felt stagnant and underwhelming. Well, this is the week where it felt like the levees broke, and we got a wave, not just of Ariana Grande's album bomb, but a bunch of material that was just on the cusp of now crashing through. I can't deny that it kind of annoys me a little bit that we couldn't have drawn this process out over a couple of weeks in July, and that it's all happening now for a long episode is really tempting for me to play fast and loose with my own album bomb rules. But it's not like I covered Ariana Grande's new album just yet. I didn't even review it. Time we fill in some of that gap. And yet there was a prediction that I made that did not come true, and one that I'll admit surprised me. Our top 10, where she did not get the number 1 because Choosing Texas by Ella Langley still has ad in all channels. Yeah, that's what surprised me. Ariana Grande did not get enough in any one channel to seriously challenge for the number 1. Langley won across the board, including with just enough pop airplay to actually stick it out. And while Hate That I Made You Love Me by Ariana Grande did spike up to number 2 with gains in all channels, yeah, she just couldn't narrow the margin, even with the album bomb behind her, even with some of the controversy that I'll unfortunately have to talk around throughout the course of this episode. You've been warned. What also surprised me was Been By Now by Morgan Wallen actually not falling back that far, mostly because, to my shock, this saw incremental radio gains but had enough streaming to beat out Ariana Grande across the board. Even Hate That I Made You Love Me, which got higher thanks to its edge on the radio, but Been By Now by Morgan Wallen held at number 3. We did get one Ariana Grande song debuting, the title track Petal at number 4, which is here predominantly on streaming, but it's seen most of its attention tied to the video, even though YouTube's no longer counted on Billboard. Yeah, we'll have to work around that too. Anyway, she beat out I Knew It, I Knew You by Taylor Swift, which is down to number 5, mostly because of its tremendous radio support holding on, and Boston by Stella Lefty at number 6, which held out against the album bomb on streaming and got radio pickups to boot. It also held over I Can't Love You Anymore by Ella Langley and Morgan Wallen at number 7, which might be peaking across channels, especially on the radio, but that still had enough to hold over Dracula by Tame Impala and Jenny at number 8, where the streaming took a beating, but the radio seems mostly static. For now. It's kind of a similar case for So Easy to Fall in Love by Olivia Dean slipping to number 9. Although the radio is over the crest and losing fast, I would not be surprised if this takes a step back, even if Ariana Grande does as well next week. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Be Her by Ella Langley at number 10. Nashville radio pulled this weeks ago, but the streaming is stable. We'll see for how long. But our big story here is naturally our losers and dropouts, because man, in the latter group, we got a lot of them, and big ones too. Clinching their year-end list spots for 2026, off their exit, we got American Girls by Harry Styles, Pop That Thing by DaBaby, Fever Dream by Alex Warren, Motion Party by Boss Mandilo, likely just eking his way through, and then we got the swath of songs that are cut well short. Chicago by the late Michael Jackson, Whisper My Name, and I'm Spent with Low Shimmy, both by Drake. And from Olivia Rodrigo, You Plus Me Equals Love, Begged, Less, and My Way. Then we have over a third of the Hot 100 seeing losses, so let's start off with the songs with some degree of action last week. Off the debut, Animal by Cat's Eye fell to 35. Off the gains, Bloodstream by Alyssa Grace hit 57, and Bottom of Your Boots by Ella Langley hit 90. She also had Loving Life Again hit 42, and Misery by Pupsies continues to fade rapidly at 77. Next, we got some residual album bomb losses, namely from Drake with Shebang at 37, Too Hard for the Radio at 77, Ran to Atlanta with Future and Molly Santana at 80, and National Treasures at 99. Side note, stop barking at goth and alternative women on stream, Drake. You look and sound like more of a cash-strapped dipshit than usual. Robert Smith should slap you. And from Olivia Rodrigo, Honeybee at 72, Expectations at 83, Maggots for Brains at 87, and What's Wrong With Me featuring Oh look, Robert Smith of The Cure at 100. And while I'm also peeved, I want to acknowledge Rubbers by Phoenix Flexen down at 79, and how apparently much of the song was exposed for this being created with generative AI. This legit sucks. As someone who approached the song and the art in good faith and thought that it was a cool switch up only for it to be exposed like this. Especially as I'm in the minority as a critic in believing that generative art can have some value in distinctly niche circumstances, like creating all of your own training data like some experimental electronic artist, or where the AI use itself becomes its own perverse reflection and commentary upon the artist. The best example being that generated sample flip behind Either On and Off the Drugs from JPEG Mafia 2 years ago. So this could have been near a gray area for me, I'll be honest and say that, if Phoenix Flexen hadn't kept lying consistently about it, so I just wind up feeling cheated, which feels like the usual response with a lot of generative AI across mediums these days, and it's a fair response. I'm not going to lie and say I didn't like what it was when I didn't know or wasn't sure, and the external factors compromised my enjoyment. My opinion can change. But it does have me wondering why Billboard hasn't pulled the song from the charts altogether, or how Empire managed to copyright anything around this. We'll see if that holds up in court. Anyway, let's work our way down through the rest. Die Die by Shakira and Burna Boy slid to 31 after the World Cup peak. Homewrecker by Somber hit 40. What You Need by Thames hit 41. Cinderella by the late Mac Miller and Ty Dolla $ign slid down to 43. I'm a little shocked it's held out this long. And Noah Kahan saw some losses for Orbiter at 45 and Doors at 59. Then we got Self-Aware by Temper City skidding down to 47, E85 by Don Toliver mercifully slowing at 50, Freaking Out by Dexter and the Moonrocks at 51, Don't Tell On Me by Jason Aldean at 52, Mexico Honey by Casey Musgraves at 53, Ghetto Love Story by Baby Chief Do It at 55. Hey look, another possible AI case for Billboard to eventually address, or probably not, and Something to Lose by Stella Lefty and Vincent Mason at 61. Finally, to wind this up, I Love It, I Love It, I Love It by Bella K at 64. Great Expectation by Sienna Spiro at 66. Woman by Kane Brown at 68. Hate How You Look by Josh Ross at 69. Noble by Femi at 73. MacArthur by Hardy, Eric Church, Morgan Wallen, and Tim McGraw at 81. Billboard, you could drop this song too. It's well past recurrency, and the radio gains are pitiful if that's your excuse. Iconic by Mistake by Le Seraphim, Islet, and Cat's Eye at 88. And South of Sanity by Zach Top at 97. And naturally, we don't have much in the way of gains or returns. In the latter group is Just the Feeling by Steve Lacy seeing a bit of renewed album traction at 93, but more importantly, Loser by Tame Impala rebounding to 46 because of the association with the new Spider-Man movie, Brand New Day. Haven't seen it yet, probably not going to review it. We'll all have to see. And in the former, tying to the gains, it's literally just Cowgirl by Shabuzi getting a nice album spike to 49, where I got the depressing feeling that it might not stick around much. Had a good sales week. That's pretty much about it. Now, this would be where I would talk about the album bomb entries from Ariana Grande, but she's in the small album bomb territory with 11 new songs. Means I'm focusing on the best, the worst, and those in the top 40, and the lowest debut she had is 39. I gotta talk about the whole damn thing. And yet we got more to get through before even then with a solid list of new arrivals. Thankfully starting on a good note with number 98, Brand New Chanels by Slayyyter.
Just for tonight, I wonder if you got her in your
Well, about time she shows up. And it's weird to say that about Slayyyter when I've been aware of her for years, and her project Worst Girl in America has been a critical darling by those who don't remember Kesha doing a lot of this better 15 years ago. And I mostly kid here. It is her best album, and it's got about 4 songs I think are legit great. But this track is actually not from that album, from what appears to be a sequel inverse project titled Worst Man in America that might be dropping sometime this year, with this being the other side to Beat Up Chanel's, one of the songs on that last album I didn't like that much. And where that song was all about its chase of debauchery and the kiss off of the guy along the way, this focuses a lot more on that guy who went chasing for the girl with brand new Chanel's instead of her ragged energy, directly mirrored by the hazy outro that directly mimics that first hook. And okay, it's a little odd because I remember when folks didn't really want to hear Kesha's more introspective ballads on those earlier albums, they just wanted to party. So when my response to this is feeling, yeah, it's good, but it's missing the edge and the teeth for a more conventional brand of Confession, I would be making the same mistake. Although truthfully, I think it's more of a matter of range and delivery. The muted synths and the humming across the guitars, where Slayyyter seems very cushioned in reverb and compression, which doesn't have that same heart-wrenching magnetism Kesha did, especially when it smears over her words. Or maybe it's how it's all built to a more traditional pulsing banger. But you know, for a pure cry in the club shot, which matches Slayyyter's energy, I think this gets there. Not sure if it measures up to the best of what she's put out so far earlier this year, but if she's starting her chart run with this, yeah, I'll take it. Really good song. Number 95, Another Drink by Marshmello and Kelsea Ballerini.
I want a thing, she just wants another drink. Don't wanna share a smoke, don't wanna take you home. No, she don't want a thing, she just wants another drink.
This just makes me depressed. Kelsea Ballerini is one of the most underrated pop country acts of the past 10 years. She's a sharper songwriter and composer than she gets credit. She's got a lot of songs I love, but so much of her success has been the right music at the wrong time for the rest of the country music industry, so it doesn't surprise me that in 2026 she winds up working with Marshmello as the stopgap. What's more galling is that it sounds like way more of a Marshmello song than one of hers, and a dated one at that. The cheap, brittle acoustics and the pathetically weak electric guitar touches, the canned trap percussion, down to her multi-track vocals feeling drowned out by the damn hook behind his far more louder, stock, over-processed slop. You put this out in 2019, nobody bats an eye. Would probably make a lot of worst list of the year. If I were being charitable, I'd say that the songwriting mostly matches the mood of the track. Post-breakup, she's going out to the bar/club to party and then do shots. She doesn't give a shit about the usual bro country colloquialisms that unfortunately have not changed since her debut. She just wants another drink. Where I think they tacked on that final sing-along at the end because the song was so otherwise bereft of content. What's depressing here is that I can imagine this working, especially given how Ballerini's delivery reminds me a lot of recent Megan Moroney. But at least right now, she didn't have to work with Marshmello. What label hack convinced her this was a good idea? What a disappointment. Please skip it. Number 89, Poured by Lil Uzi Vert.
Oh my god, can't believe I made it far. Oh my god, I'll be kicking in the stars. Oh my god, on these songs I'm going hard.
You know, all throughout making my rage video essay on my main channel, I was struck by how influential Lil Uzi Vert has been, and thus when the mixed to outright bad reviews for this new EP started coming in, well, I heard what they were doing in 2024. The quality feels wildly uneven these days. I wasn't that surprised. This feels kind of indicative of that. The production's actually pretty solid for this sort of smothering bass and rumbling synths as Uzi croon drawls over the song, kind of skirting the line between trap and rage in the mainstream. I get why some might say they're going a little bit harder, especially on the one verse, where they actually do have a little bit more energy, but I think the problem's twofold. One, the rage I like has way more stronger melody, and it sounds more isolated to Uzi's voice than the actual instrumental, even if I didn't mind how they bent across keys to get through the first hook through the intro. And secondly, look, even by Uzi's standards, this is thin in terms of the detail to their flexing beyond the codeine abuse. Yeah, the hook is fine, but they're clearly stretching it because they got nothing else to say. And with this, neither do I. As soon as Slayyyter crosses over, the better. Let's move on. Number 85, Ain't in LA by ADELA. Okay, I need to establish a little context here. If you've heard of ADELA at all, it might have come from her time on the same reality TV show that would eventually incarnate Cat's Eye. She got eliminated early on the show, but she kept trying to make pop music. She got signed to Capitol. She put out an EP last year that apparently got pretty good reviews, and this is her first crossover single, with Dylan Brady contributing to the production and the pitch down vocals coming from the industry songwriter Theron Thomas of Our City, immediately prompting a lot of memories of the early to mid 2010s when a lot of the pop girls were trying to sound edgy by nakedly borrowing a lot of trap flexing and percussion before it just became the mainstream stock sound in pop. Think of what Miley Cyrus was doing on Bangers, and you know what? Guess who worked on We Can't Stop 13 years ago? That's right, it's Theron Thomas. That's kind of the thing. I remember this era and when it was tacky and appropriative and a lot of it wasn't any good. So while I can hear more polished production this time, and ADELA singing about how the baddest bitches have to make their own style outside of Los Angeles and that can be enough, it's a weird juxtaposition when you're also grabbing LA trend-hopping sounds a decade late that don't match with anything else in the song, and certainly don't sound that edgy or dangerous, especially when Slayyyter's here. Now, I want to give some credit, because ADELA is clearly proud of coming from Slovakia, and there were likely material constraints that may have prevented her from having this phase at the same way, but there's also a weird defensiveness that reminds me a little of when Music Row country music gets very touchy about the flyover states, where this is only a little bit better because she's also cribbing notes from millennial self-esteem anthems that used to dominate this era pop, just kind of mashing them together. For what it's worth, I'm sure some of this might be a generational thing. She's 22, I'm in my mid-30s. The nostalgia window is very clearly different, but I also remember this being done a little better, and when I see producers who were actually around back then trying to make fetch happen twice, yeah, sorry, I'm just not impressed. Number 82, Nightmares to Dreams by Meek Mill.
When y'all niggas was rockin' rollers, y'all only knew about Jay-Z till y'all seen me and my homies. I was trying to chase my dream. I had like 20 bands with a 40. I had a new Glock with a Chevy. Got my weed off, I'm ready. It was a seesaw with that trap shit, but I bounced back, I'm heavy. It was a seesaw with that rap shit, me and Reed going back at it. I spent nights up in this shit. All my blood tears got tatted.
And you know, while we're in that time period and territory, it's been a long time since I've thought to care about Meek Mill at all. The second Philly rapper to show up this week, and somehow neither of them did verses about LeBron coming to their city. Someone clearly dropped the ball there. Yeah, sure, pun intended. Anyway, this is a very obvious flip of one of Meek Mill's most recognizable titles, a little questionable given that I remember how propulsive and explosive that those cuts could be. I covered them over 10 years ago, and this seems to be trying to evoke some of that same emotion with the muted pianos riding the brittle trap rattle with the crashes of cymbals and bells that eventually tilt towards more of a minor key by the second verse. But again, two problems here. The first being that Meek Mill's voice sounds painfully compressed, which gets all the more grating when he starts inevitably yelling. He's got a lot of volume, but a little bass, so his voice starts sounding honestly a bit plastic. It doesn't have a lot of impact or power for me. And the second, come on, it's Meek Mill. He's just not a great rapper. His flows are a little bit tighter this time around, but by the second verse, he's tumbling over himself yet again, and the street level gun and drug running paired with a quasi-aspirational narrative, it's real familiar coming out of him. It's not even as conscious as it used to be, possibly because he mentions numerous times that he's too rich to fake it. For Meek, yeah, I believe him. It's also one of the reasons that I'm not all that interested in this song. Next, number 62, Hustle by Rod Wave.
I'm on the way to the money at 8 in the morning. That paper be calling, I listen. My load is landed, real estate keep on expanding. Just put the shop for 2 million. My hustle ridiculous, can't even close my eyes. My palm be sweating and itching. Jumped off the ship, that's the side that you pick. Ain't turning around to get you. I'm on a mission forever. I'm mafia living, lawyers, judges, politicians. I'm in the bay like a buck, in the A like a falcon. I'm in the D like a lion. Hate when I get in my
feelings and I lose my temper. Now somebody probably dying.
Okay, I think it went overlooked that I really liked that Rod Wave song about a month ago, where it wasn't great and I could hear subtle tweaks to the formula, but it was showing an improvement. I'm not fully back on board yet, but I want it to be, even if this barely runs 2 minutes and just one extended verse and one hook. And the bass mixing around the piano melody and the cooing chipmunk backing vocals is abysmal. After me listening to 10 albums of rage music, if I'm calling that out here, it's a problem. Pair that with the abbreviated electric guitar phrases and an utterly forgettable hook, and the grind set bars that even Rod Wave has worked to the bone. Even if I believe that he sounds more focused, and some of the lines I don't think are bad, especially the NFL references to specific cities where he's hustling, it's got me kind of wondering if he's trying to get like a sports game soundtrack or ESPN placement. The rest of the package here is really unrefined. What can I say? He had me and then he lost me. Again. I'll take the blame for buying into the hustle. I should really know better by now. Number 54, Oh Yeah, by Steve Lacy. Come on, this wasn't even one of the Steve Lacy cuts from the album that I liked. Doom was right there. But thanks to showing up again on that new Spider-Man soundtrack, the album opener is hitting the Hot 100, and truthfully, it's not bad. The gauzy wells of synths that open up the track and shift into the gentler guitars, it's a nice touch, until the keening spikes of guitar spit across the refrains and the cool transitions wind up feeling kind of soupy and overdone. Yeah, Steve Lacy's vocal overdubs, they sound better than going back to Bad Habit, but he's still not a singer that really moves me. And when we get to the lyrics, it feels like this plaintive shrug about life juxtaposed with this desperate plea to let his hopes mean more. I mean, it's a fine sentiment, but it's on a song that doesn't really swing hard enough for the fences to sell it. Or maybe he was trying with this production and I don't think it landed. Again, my general thought with Steve Lacy in 2026 is, yeah, I would rather have him than Malcolm Todd, but truthfully, I don't really think we need either of them. I'm just not feeling this. Number 39, Nowhere Nobody by Ariana Grande.
And there's nowhere with nobody else that I'd rather be. I'm taking you deep breaths, honey. We've at least till morning. Then there's nowhere, nobody else that I'd rather be.
We have a solid 11 Ariana Grande songs to get through here, one other debut outside that. And given that I didn't review the album on my main channel, this is going to be me filling in the gaps, as I said. And as some of these song recaps start feeling a little abbreviated, there is a reason. The album is not good, to the point where I'm tempted to call it her worst. I know I'm on the outside looking in with not loving Thank You Next, but this album is worse across the board. Say what you will about Thank You Next, it was trying a hell of a lot harder than this soupy, undercooked project that feels like it was being made at a bad time for worse reasons. I will say the final couple songs on the project are a little better than most, this being one of them, but man, it's not saying much as someone who has been reviewing and praising Ariana Grande since yours truly. Let's start with the major problem. The guitar tone sounds like semi-solid goop, surrounded by watery effects and slight pulses of bass before the lightest of Pink Pantheress imitations comes in the supple drums. I mean, it's a love song all about walling out the world, more on that in a little bit, but there's no real sparkle to it. Where even if I kinda like the auto-tune vocals on the hook and the embrace of more complexity implied in the lyrics, there's that line, voices in my head trying to swallow me, but I don't bite. I don't know, I think Ariana Grande is an intentional songwriter. She knows what she's doing. We'll have to come back to that, but otherwise, fine, I guess. Number 38, Warning Signs Interlude by Ariana Grande.
Warning signs, I wonder why I answer each time you call me when your number slide.
I'll say it, I don't like the interludes charting, even from artists I like. I'm fine with the non-singles, that's the reality of streaming, but these always feel like stretching it, and it's not even like they ever stick around. Granted, it's not like Billboard could really make a rule on it, it's very subjective. I do think there has to be a certain number of seconds for a song to chart, and this being just under a minute and a half, yeah, it's gonna go there. But what is there to even say about this dubiously tuned guitar and reverb-slathered vocals with the faintest touch of strings, but not really the space to make it feel as ethereal as it needs, before it becomes blubbery, distorted mush that I'd rather hear on a Rage record. But then there's the content. This is one of many songs that is juxtaposing the romantic relationships with her relationship with the audience, the fans. This made a little bit more literal in how it feels so capricious and love-bombing, that you don't deserve what she's been delivering, yet she still craves that attention. It could sound vulnerable. I mean, I can make a lot of comparisons to a certain tortured poet in her department here. Probably will do so as we go on, but this, yeah, not worth caring about. Number 36, Bad Thing Bunny Hop by Ariana Grande.
This is a bad thing. This is a bad thing. Oh baby, a real nightmare. Wanna sit there and feel how much this is a bad thing. This is a bad thing.
We're up to the two Ariana Grande songs, outside of Hate That I Made You Love Me, that I think are legit good on this album. In this case, basically because she made a swampy, up-tempo darkwave song without recruiting Max Martin for it. The fact that he's not credited here kind of caught me by surprise. He's done this formula before. Yeah, the guitars are a little sickly, and the entire mix feels weirdly watery, including the vocal mix. Man, Olivia Rodrigo just did this better. But the faster pulse of the drums keeps the tempo up, and it works for the heady rush of this bad idea relationship, especially when it seems like it may have had some legs in the past. Amidst this heady rush, she is reconsidering the possibilities. Incidentally, going back to the song Bad Idea from Thank You Next, as one of the songs that I unabashedly like from that album, it's very telling how much sultry power that Ariana Grande used to have, where a song like this could have really used that verve. I mean, it's still good, maybe a little obvious that I would praise it given my taste and its sound palette. So let's then compare it to number 33, Never Get Over Me by Ariana Grande.
Into something real, and you'll never get over me. Then somehow every exit disappears. Oh, the vision is crystal clear. No, you'll never get over me.
The comparison that'll inevitably get brought up with this is to her mid-2010s run, where she had a little more swagger, where Ariana Grande herself described this new album as a bit feral. God, if only. But if there's a song that gets closer to that petty, vindictive ideal while not actually sounding awful, it's probably this one for me. The theatrical twinkle that leads into the squonking liquid guitar against the stuttering patter, her sweet venom in informing this dude that he doesn't know what he's going to be missing if he were to leave, especially as they all tend to disappear from the spotlight she has. Some of the better overdubbed harmonies on a pretty solid melodic hook, where she finally brings a little bit more power to bear on that final hook. Of course, it's no Dangerous Woman, a song I still like to this day, but if she wanted to make this album all about her vindictive reclamation of her power, even if she's talking to the audience here as well, at least I think the composition lands. The song is good, I think it works. That's not what happens with number 32, Freak by Ariana Grande.
See this time, can you do it now? No, I won't do what you say, freak. Anytime, but can you give me now?
This is the outright kiss-off that is honestly a little sloppy in how it frames this relationship on the run, and then the kiss-off of the judgmental audience. I blame the hook unless some of this is intended to be from the audience perspective, talking about her, which suddenly has me wishing there was at least one guest on this album to add some variance. The feature list has really gone awful cold in recent years. You couldn't even get The Weeknd, but it's the composition and the production that just kills it for me. I actually think that the bending across the keys had some potential in the verses against the gauzy 80s inspired keyboards, but then you get these ugly staccato analog synths on the hook that slam the momentum to a halt, and Ariana Grande sounds like she's singing through a tin can. And how is the blending so sloppy, with the drippy elements clipping each other in the mix, and for some reason burying that interesting woodwind at the very back near the end of the song? This is a sound that I genuinely think I could really like, and Ariana Grande's singing and harmonies are fine, if a little underpowered, but man, what a way to fumble it. Number 27, Big Feelings by Ariana Grande. Okay, look, when Ariana Grande sings about being sexy and giving men big feelings, that should be the easiest layup in the world. She's been doing this her entire career, and I can make a mixtape with just her best songs in that lane. Hell, I was willing to look past some of the outright bad lines here, that she'd love him so therapeutically, or that bridge where she describes herself as becoming so aquatic in sex. And yet then comes that self-satisfied hook in the line, there are worse things I could do. But again, this is a case where Ilia's production just sounds gross around her. The dissonant guitar warps that set up the piano during the song, that attempt at funk with the bass, the lumbering hook that reminds me I, again, would rather be listening to Dangerous Woman, the bridge that submerges itself in this stuttering vocal decay, the fact that Ariana Grande herself otherwise sounds so checked out. Does any of this seem that sexy to you? Especially if you're gonna compare it to like a Love Me Harder or Nasty? More than ever, this sounds like Ariana Grande on autopilot, and it would be good enough to get a pass if Ilia could deliver, and he doesn't. So it's mediocre. Number 25, Aha by Cardi B.
Niggas can't flex on me with something I had. I'm laughing like ho suck my dick, I'm like let me post my little pic, I'm like let me show off my fit, I'm like look broke bitch, you wish.
This is the point of the episode where I think we could all do with a good, somewhat funny Cardi B song. I like her far more than most as it is. I really needed this. Even if I outright laughed when I heard that it might be teasing a third album, possibly next year. Sure, get back to me by that, let's say the end of this decade. That being said, I do have standards for Cardi, and on that metric, this is pretty good, just not great. Part of this is me just not loving the hook. The aha play on words that she tries on the chorus, it's kind of catchy, but just feels a little clunky to me, especially following the more melodic pre-chorus with a little bit more development. That could have been the hook itself. But the line that took me clean out of the song came on the second verse was, I'm pulling up and shitting like a Huggy. Cardi, I know you've probably had a lot of folks change a lot of diapers for your kids, maybe even you've changed some yourself. This is a bad line. I can tell where your mind is, and you don't even repeat it when you bring parts of that line back for the third verse. And it's kind of a shame because I like the rest of the song. The watery trap production with the bells, it's a good fit for her. I like her refusal to get trapped as she flexes her success. And while the first two verses aren't exceptional, the third verse taking shots at JT with a little bit more humor reminds me of the Cardi B I like. So while I won't call it great, it's no WAP or Bodak Yellow or Outside, in a week like this, hell, a year like this when it comes to mainstream hip-hop, I'll take what I can get. This is good. Number 24, Like I Do by Ariana Grande.
How you come to see is true. You need me like I you, 'cause no one fucks you like I do.
I want to be careful here, because the entertainment industry is hell for women, and this song is very flagrantly about the love-hate relationship that she has with it, where she is reveling in the heel turn of "you hate to love me." I've been busy keeping your girl inspired. The newspaper shoutouts on the hook. The keep my heels tall, my ego small, but I'm still grande. Off a verse that's all this imperious self-regard, including the line, all that shit talk keeps me well fed. Through thick and thin, you're so locked in. I'm also going to say, again, she is an intentional songwriter, and lines like that play into a specific provocation where the music press will then make money on both ends. So even with the tabloids, manufacturing the controversy and then the concern, and it's sleazy and gross, and the fact that the public eggs it on in this attention economy is worse. I include social media in that. But Ariana Grande also knows what she's doing to stoke controversy, and it makes me feel a little sick even acknowledging it. Granted, when it's all done with the breathy sing-alongs around her rubbery trap stutter where her voice has even less power, even as the stalking guitar revs up behind her to set up a crescendo, this feels a little like Taylor Swift's Look What You Made Me Do, and that's really not a compliment. Shame that the production's actually somewhat competent this time, but you know, while we're in the territory of bad songs, number 23, Oh Well by Ariana Grande.
Friends I used to need, but now the guys all go to hell.
Yeah, this is what I want to hear from Ariana Grande, a song that's all about cutting off friends, that's also at least partially about her relationship with the audience. Also clearly designed to stoke some provocation because, of course, she still loves you but needs to keep growing away from you. She doesn't want your kindness. Good luck on your way to hell. And this is the sort of track where I think there's just no way for anyone to come out looking good, including me. The glassy flutters before the drum and bass pattern board from Pink Pantheress yet again slips in, where it's all supposed to feel so breezy and carefree until we get a pretty solid hook that feels weirdly abbreviated. I mean, I want to like the sound for her, but this embittered sentiment expressed leaves me with a lot of concern that she says she doesn't want, but actually does if we take that interlude in context. If there's a stark difference between what Taylor Swift did on the Tortured Poets department and what Ariana Grande is doing here, it's this. Both of them have justified anger at a parasocial audience that they themselves let in. A lot of it circling the questionable moralism of their relationships and actions. They're justified there. But Swift had enough self-awareness to pull out of the tailspin, well, at least for that album, The Life of a Showgirl's own car crash, with a whole different set of problems. For Ariana Grande, combined with the stress of being a contentious, over-scrutinized pop star for decades, and a pileup of mental health trauma that she's clearly still processing, she's making art as if she doesn't have that deeper awareness of what people are responding to now, because I think she's hearing what she wants to hear. That's why you have a song that sounds like a cult member who's cutting off friends and family and framing it as for the best. And I think it's really bad. Let's move on. Number 22, Stay by Ariana Grande.
Really I should say this time, stay.
Okay, this is something I would mention with a full album review, and it's relevant here. The sequencing of Petal isn't any good, because the fact that this song comes before Oh Well sends one hell of a mixed message, a more direct plea for a partner to stick around, and given how often she's conflated that with the audience, so this is then perceived as the hesitation before, well, whatever comes next. That's messy. Kind of a shame because I think she's singing with a lot more actual power and flair here. Even more of a shame because the production utterly squanders it. Not only do the vocals sound awkwardly compressed when we get that flattened grind of the bass, that sounds a lot more like texture than actual presence and somehow still clips the mix, supporting this distant, watery tinkle that passes off for a melody. I've long had the suspicion that Max Martin has lost his sauce in recent years, and this feels like the evidence for it. It feels limp and hollow. It's another song where Ariana Grande sounds like she's a little on autopilot, having done this better, even if she's got a bit more power. And you know, while we're in that territory, number 21, Kiss Me by Ariana Grande.
Goodbye. We could try to make it all the way out. Grab me like my life is on the line. We decide to make it all the way out.
Yeah, the opener. against a wispy, ethereal backdrop that breaks into these synth blocks with glossy touches that sound a half step removed from hyperpop before the squishy block of the mix drops in. It certainly sets up Ilia's choice for gutless synthesizers and dubious vocal mixing across the album. At least Ariana Grande's fine here. The feelings of isolation and not belonging, they're palpable, they're relatable, especially when you find a partner that gets you and she's taking the risk to surrender into those anxious feelings, including lines like, "Grab me like my life is on the line." God, I really wish she didn't spend this album drawing a lot of conflations between relationships and her public, but the harmonies are stronger. Fine opener, flowing into Hate That I Made You Love Me. It's a good 1-2 punch. Shame from there. The album winds up going to, finally, number 4, Petal by Ariana Grande.
Pavement, just as long as she keeps getting it right. I break one right here in paradise.
I barely even have words at this point. There's a part of me that doesn't even want to show the music video. I'm probably going to blur it in post. And I don't want to make this about the video, which is very plainly trying to sell some self-awareness about everything in a judgmental music industry that's likely giving her a lot of bullshit. And that's likely very true. Many an artist has made songs about the industry being awful for a lot of horrific reasons, especially to women. And let me restate something that I said back in my Eternal Sunshine review. I have no problem with Ariana Grande making complicated and morally ambiguous relationship songs of which she has been judged harshly and unfairly. I honestly don't even care about her trying on different boys for size. Go off. And she's also been through way too much trauma alongside that. It is a factor you can't ignore. I mean, it's understandable. But a song like this comes across as if she has chosen to mine this well of rage for art because that's the only thing that feels real to her. That none of this is a cry for help, she says. That she's owning it all and she's got the millions to back it up because she doesn't need saving. And so long as she keeps getting the ovation from an audience that both hates and loves her at the same time, she's still winning. But even if that is true, is the cost worth it? Especially when the song otherwise is goddamn dreadful. It's the worst song on the album by a considerable margin, with the sickly staccato flourishes and the bells amidst the fake vinyl crackle, the blown out bass and drums, and then a hook where Ariana Grande leaps into this falsetto and she can't balance against the low end until the blown out trap skitter smothers the post-chorus. And that's not even touching on the vocals themselves that are warped to sound like they're coming from a tin can. And again, the failure of momentum going from the chorus to the post-chorus. There's no bridge, there's barely a conclusion. You can't even get catharsis trying to take in her justifiable rage given how frail she sounds in the song. Where if she's mining her worst emotions to get this right, I think the vein has gone dry a long time ago. So yeah, it's among one of the worst songs she's ever made. Not just because it reflects the worst production instincts left over from Thank You Next done somehow worse, but that I don't hear an easy way out. Maybe taking a step away from the public after the tour ends will help. That she's rekindling things with her ex-husband, that's promising. And that this vanishes from the charts as soon as possible, I think we'd all be better for it. And yeah, that's our week. Petal is mediocre at best as an album, and the title track is by far the worst song of this week, where Oh Well is actually beating out Marshmello and Kelsea Ballerini for the Dishonourable Mention. Now for the best, I was tempted to give it to Ariana Grande for Bad Thing Bunny Hop, but that's gonna tie with Cardi B for Ah Hot Honourable Mention, because the top spot's going to Brand New Chanel's by Slayyyter. Again, she has done better, it's not old technology, but if this is the impetus to get some of those songs from Worst Girl in America charting, that is the win we want. Next week's gonna be the messy fallout from all of this. Stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.